No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
For the longest time in tonight's game, it seemed like not a lot was going to have to be discussed on the post-game show, as the game itself did not feature a lot going on. And then the final few minutes of this game happened, and now there's a lot to discuss on the Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now. Alongside Dave Manouk, alongside Ezra Ginsburg, I am your host, Drew Mandel. We welcome you to the Illegal Curve post-game show. As I mentioned, it's presented by our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve hockey show. Gentlemen, a good evening again to you. We last got together earlier this morning to talk about the Jets San Jose Sharks game, a game that the Jets scored with about 90 seconds, maybe closer to 80 seconds to go to win the game. Well, it's a role reversal kind of night, as the Winnipeg Jets have a third period lead. They give up that third period lead inside the final 6 minutes, and they end up giving up the game-winning goal with 26 seconds to go. A night that the Jets, I think for the first time, played down to the level of their competition, and they got rightfully burned by doing so. Because, had they played in the had they played in the first and second period as they did in the third, or for the majority of the third, it's probably not a close game, but they took the first 40 minutes off. Anaheim got to hang around, and the Ducks pull off the victory. Good evening to you both.
Good evening, boys. We just had the comment up from Patrick. I mean, Eric Comrie was the only player that showed up for the first two periods. Let's get it out there right off the bat. I mean, first off, great to see Nikolai Ehlers back in the lineup. Big news coming earlier today. Obviously, Dave M was all over it on illegalcurve.com. Obviously, Dylan Coughlin going on waivers, which there was a good indication that meant that Ehlers was going to play. So great to see Ehlers. He has an immediate impact, guys. Picks up an assist on the power play, and obviously his speed and skill was noticeable in tonight's game. But you're absolutely right, Drew. The first two periods were not good enough. Even if it's the second game of a back-to-back, it just was. You're watching this game, and you put it out there on X, Drew, like you're watching this, and it's like it takes you 8-9 minutes to get your first shot in both periods, not just the first period. And obviously, you could see Scott Arniel in the second period absolutely giving it to the Jets. And rightly so, right? Like, and again, it's the second game of back-to-back, so guys are going to be tired. But Nick Ehlers hasn't played in a long time, so he's fresh.
Yeah.
Ville Heinola, he's fresh, right, Dave? So it's just, it's really inexcusable. The Jets obviously did turn it on in the third period. It looked like Mark Scheifele's goal might hold up as the game winner. Also, Gabe Velarde almost tied it up with 2 or 3 seconds left, right, guys? So, I mean,
shades of Patrick Steffen missing the empty net against the Edmonton Oilers, and then the Oilers going all the way down the end of the ice and tying the game with seconds to go. Remember that one way back when?
Oh yeah. I mean, good thing that the Ducks have Lucas Dostal in net, because he's a good one. They need him.
Yeah.
He's been one of the lone bright spots, in addition to, Troy Terry and a few others. We'll get into there's so much young talent on this team. It's just a team that doesn't really have an identity yet, but they outplayed the Jets, boys, for the first 40 minutes. And, I was texting you guys and obviously annoying you guys.
Ad nauseum, I would add.
I would agree with that. I was being annoying tonight.
Yeah,
but it was one of those games that you're watching it and you're thinking, like, how are the Jets in this game? And we've said this so many times, Dave, when you're getting outshot that bad, what was it, 18-4 or something like that? It's got to be demoralizing when you only have one goal to show for it. So give Eric Comrie a lot of credit. He was making some nice saves. It's not like he was making, 10 bell saves or anything like that, but there were a couple chances. I think Frank Vetrano had like 5 shots on net. He had a couple of good scoring chances. So it just wasn't good enough for the first 40. You're not going to win on most nights, even against the worst teams in the league, by only putting in a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, Eric Comrie, the Ducks had 8 high danger chances, Dave, in the first 40 minutes of this game, which is not an insignificant number. So, I mean, look, I feel for Eric Comrie, to be perfectly honest. He deserved a better result based on his play tonight. His teammates in front of him let him down. I mean, this was one of the worst performances through the first 40 minutes that the Jets have had. The Jets are fortunate to have got 2 points out of the 4 that were available on this road trip. They played poorly against San Jose, for a lot of the game. They played poorly against the Anaheim Ducks for a ton of this game. And another instance where they let at least a point slip through their hands just by sloppy play towards the end of a game.
I actually think it's good that they lost tonight's game, to be honest with you. I actually think that if they get points out of this game, it validates that they can play like crap for 2 periods and still get points. So I actually think if you're the Winnipeg Jets, you needed that last minute loss. Like I understand that nobody in the chat wants to be discussing a loss, but when your team plays that badly and you get 4 shots in the first period, 4 shots in the second period against one of the worst teams. And look, the Ducks, the one thing I'll say, they don't score a lot of goals, but they also don't give up a ton of goals. So, that's one of the things that you have to, like, they have the second least number of goals against in the Pacific Division. So even though they're not nearly as good as the LA Kings, for example, they've given up just as many goals as the LA Kings. The only problem is they've scored 50 less goals than the Jets. Jets coming into today's game have 121. The Ducks had 71. Now the Jets had played, I think, 3 or 4 more games, but at the same time, that's not going to account for a 50-goal differential. The reality, though, is, and their goaltending, like when I was getting the pregame report ready to go on illegalcurve.com, I was shocked, Ezzy, because, for so many years, John Gibson, like Connor Hellebuck, has been the guy in net in Anaheim, and he faces a lot of rubber. But, he has taken a little bit of a back seat this season. He'd only played 10 games to the 17, and to me, again, like I said, I wasn't sure what to expect because we haven't really seen the Ducks, so we don't watch them. So you didn't know what, other than some of the young talent. But yeah, I mean, look, if you're the Winnipeg Jets, you didn't deserve to win. You could have caught them away with some points. But like I said, I think this Jets team they need a wake-up call. And I know they're traveling tomorrow. Then they're going to have a wake-up call in the Minnesota Wild, who I believe lost to Florida tonight.
They did. They got beat down by Florida, I think, 6-1, if I'm not mistaken.
And that game was, so both teams are going to come in, a little snarly. But the reality for the Winnipeg Jets is, like, again, you cannot take teams lightly. And I think you're right, Drew, or as maybe you said it, but this is the first time we've seen the Jets play down, if you will, and just they didn't deserve to win did not deserve to get any points. So like I said, that's probably that is a just result, if you ask me.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Look, the Jets were, they were playing with fire. They played with fire against San Jose, and they managed to not get burnt. They played with fire against the Anaheim Ducks tonight for 40 minutes. The first 40 minutes were some of the worst 40 minutes of hockey that the Jets have played this year. I know there's other games that the Jets have lost, but you're playing against an Anaheim Ducks team that is towards the bottom of the standings. You're playing against an Anaheim Ducks team that you expect to be better than, and as long as you play your game, you should beat the Anaheim Ducks. Well, the Jets played their game for only 20 minutes, not even, probably 15.
It's 15 of the 20.
Yeah, 15 exactly. 15, 16 minutes out of the 60 that the game lasts. And so to your point, I think they got punched in the nose a little bit, losing in the manner that they did. And hopefully they take that sourness and the negativity that they feel as a result of that, and they channel that into a method so that they don't play like this again, because it really was to generate 8 shots on goal
terrible
through 40 minutes and to go without a shot on goal for more than the first half of the first period and almost the entire first half of the second period. That's not that's not anything that Anaheim is doing so much as it is the Jets just not executing. Anaheim played well, no question about that. I'm not taking anything away from them. But even when your opponent is playing well, you should be able to generate shots. You should be able to generate some zone time. The Jets, I thought, just decided that they didn't need to take Anaheim seriously for a lot of this game. And that itself is almost more damning than the final score of 3-2 the Anaheim Ducks over the Winnipeg Jets, Ezzy.
Right. And it's not all doom and gloom, right? Like, I'm going to play the role of Dave M here and still remind everybody the Jets are first place in the NHL and first place in the Central. But we've got the comment up from regular chatter, AJ Jets back 11. Like, this has not been just one or two bad games, right? Like, obviously there's been some strong games sprinkled in there. The Jets' big win over Boston sticks out, right, boys?
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a lot to be concerned about, because I think that, it's one thing to rely on your power play for a game, 2 games. This was another game in which, the Jets score in the power play in a game which they're being badly outplayed, but you're thinking, like Drew said, this is Anaheim. Like, they shouldn't really have to play their best to beat Anaheim. But Anaheim has any team in the NHL. We were all surprised. I think everybody, you could see it on social media. Everybody was surprised with how well San Jose played against the Jets yesterday, and the Jets obviously, eked out the win. But even Kevin and Dan talked about that on the broadcast, in and around them making references to different Italian features, I guess.
Bocce ball.
Bocce ball and paisano. I thought they were.
I assumed actually that's why they just killed the feed. I figured Joe from Winnipeg didn't appreciate all the Italian references. He's like, that's it, I'm done.
Well, guys, we're honorary Italians. We were previously sponsored by the Zappias, right? So we're honorary Italians.
I thought Kevin and Dan were very entertaining in tonight's game. They were more entertaining than the game itself.
Yeah, it's true. But going back to what Dave said, I think they did deserve to lose this game, right? Like, sometimes hockey's like that, where, like if the Jets, for example, won this game 2-1, we'd probably be talking about, I don't know if we would have said that Comrie goalied the Ducks, but we'd certainly be talking about how Comrie was the difference in this game, because it certainly wasn't the Jets play at even strength guys that was the difference in this game.
The Jets did not have one player. They did not have one player who finished higher than 48% in possession numbers. I mean, this is against the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks are not, they're not going to make the playoffs, folks. To not have one player be in the positive side of the ledger when it comes to possession in the course of tonight's game is just another. I mean, sometimes statistics can be used to make up whatever narrative you want. All the statistics in today's game, and for a while there, it didn't look like the final score was going to be one of those, but all the statistics just point to how damning of an effort this was by the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, Logan Stanley and Ville Heinola got caved in. I mean, they were both, under 30%. They were both the worst defenders when it came to possession numbers. If you can't play those guys against the Anaheim Ducks, I just don't know who you can play them against.
I agree with you there, Drew. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just lest you think that we are being negative, and it's just, 3 guys being negative. Nikolai Ehlers, we've got to hold each other accountable for what we're doing out there, and we're not doing that. So we've got some work to do. And then he confirms what we've just suggested on this program, suggested they got what they deserve tonight.
Yeah.
So that's not, again, that's why I think it's not a bad thing. Is it lip service? Are they just saying that?
It's not a bad thing if they channel it properly.
Well, which is what I'm saying right now. I said, is it just lip service? Are they just saying that because there's an expectation like, hey, you stunk the bed up with 25 seconds to go? So again, it's about, as he says, how do you harness this? How do you, they're not going to get a chance because, like we know, they're traveling tomorrow, so they're going to have to go right into it on Minnesota. They're against Minnesota, here in Winnipeg. But it's going to be, you're going to need to ratchet it up because you're going to have to get that intensity level up. There's not going to be any excuses. And like I said, maybe it's a good thing that Minnesota got punched in the face as well by the defending Stanley Cup champs, because it sets itself up. But like we were talking about throughout the course of this little preamble here, boys, you can have an excuse to have one bad period. You can excuse one bad. Okay, you played last night in San Jose. You flew to from Northern California to Southern California. Not a hardship. You played, and let's be realistic. They didn't practice on Sunday. They played on Saturday night, so the schedule hasn't been.
No, they're not tired.
I'm trying to.
I'm tired in the sense that it's the second half of back to back. But the schedule's light.
That's what I'm getting at. The schedule isn't difficult by any stretch of the imagination. You had an optional this morning. So the fact of the matter is that, you can account for one period but to have 2 periods the way they did, the 2 periods that you were off, and you're lucky to be where you were in the game. Like I said, if you would have escaped with this, I think unfortunately what it would do is reinforce bad habits. You actually, I think if you're a Jets fan, you probably are happy to give up any points in this hockey game, because to the point as he made, you're still in top spot in the NHL. But hopefully what you're going to do is learn a very valuable lesson from tonight's poor effort, I would say.
Boys, those first 2 periods were so bad that honestly, aside from Comrie's play and the way the power play looked and Gabe Velarde's goal, I would find it hard for the 3 of us or anybody in the chat or anybody who watched that game to find any other positive in the Jets' first 2 periods. Like we said, 8 shots. They had absolutely nothing going on 5-on-5, and they were just lifeless. And it's a good point. Like, you're in the second game of a back-to-back, even if the travel's, not that hard. And, we know the Jets got a bunch of practice in the last week. Obviously, they're not going to get practice before Monday's game, before Saturday's game, as you pointed out, Dave. They will get one day practice
Friday.
I meant to say they're not going to practice tomorrow, but
they'll practice Friday.
Yeah. It's just not something that you can build off of, and you cannot really you can't make excuses for that. The effort is something that you can't make excuses for. Right. And I thought the Scheifele Velarde line, I agree with that. Even though orange is my favorite color, Brent, those jerseys, I don't know what, like, I guess they have to go back to the maroon for that. Like, the logo is fire. I love the logo. I just don't think the color is great.
You're 42 years old.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Drew. I was like, who is this? Who is this young buck on our show?
42 years old. Don't say fire.
What does it matter if I'm 42 or 32? What does that?
Yeah, come on, Drew. No cap. Like, what's going on here?
That's ageist, Drew.
Yeah, I am an ageist. That you, a grown man with 2 children, should not ever be using the word fire.
Sorry, they look.
Okay, hold on.
Nice.
As a
the jerseys looked nice, Drew. Is that better?
As a quick aside, there's a social media account where it's a dad who he embarrasses his daughters by using all the lingo that they use.
Yeah,
he's always around with their friends, and he literally records their reaction. It's the best. Anyways, that's an aside.
Yeah, I completely lost what I was talking about,
but
doesn't
matter.
Just an atrocious.
Ezzy, whatever you were saying, it was straight fire.
Yeah,
exactly. It was just I was spitting fire there, boys.
Let's recap this game goal by goal.
The Play Now game recap.
You just know that Ezzy's going to slay the Play Now game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's brought to you by Play Now. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Play Now, they are so fetch. Can I make fetch a thing? Is that no? Too late. Okay. No.
What about you can use on fleek, Drew? I have no idea what that means, but you can use that.
Sure. Play Now, they're on fleek. You're exactly right. We'll keep using these phrases until we just drive them into the ground, and no allegedly cool youth will ever want to use it again, because that's what we'll do here. Old men yammering.
All the youth are in bed anyways, Drew. They're in bed at this point.
No, I don't know. Whatever. No score after 20 minutes, but just a terrible first period for the Winnipeg Jets. They get outshot 12-4 by the Anaheim Ducks. Just incomprehensible.
Do we have to talk about the first period? Like, I realize we're doing a post-game show, but boys, can we just agree that we can skip ahead to the second period here?
Yeah. I mean, the possession numbers in the first period were 78% for the Anaheim Ducks and 22% for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, it's just incomprehensible.
Is that good, Dave? Is that good? I have no idea. Is that bad?
Jess, it's not very good, Ezzy. You're right.
It's not great. And that's even with the Jets having a power play, I might add. They still only got 4 shots. I think they had 1 shot, if I recall correctly, on that first power play in the first period. That's when Cutter Gauthier took that hooking penalty. I think Kyle Connor had 1 shot on goal on the Jets power play. If you want to look at a bright spot, the penalty kill for the Jets was, again, good tonight, in that they took 3 minor penalties and they didn't give up anything. So, if you want to look, if you need something to hang your hat on, need something to say go Jets about, that's something that you can do for.
Sorry, Drew. I just wanted to say, like Dave mentioned this earlier, that's the only reason why they were in this game at all. But it was because of Comrie and the special teams, right?
Yeah, of course.
It certainly wasn't because of their 5-on-5 play. Like, I still don't know what we watched in the first two periods. Like, it was just like it was like the Jets were in slow motion. Like, aside from Connor and Ehlers, like, where was the speed? It was just awful. But you're right. I mean, the penalty kill again was a bright spot. Dave M has talked about that a lot. It kind of has been falling, steadily over the last month and a half. So that's something that you can be proud of, I guess. But overall, I mean, the majority of this game's played at 5-on-5, and the Jets were just too sleepy especially the first period.
Yeah, just sleepy is a nice way of putting it. And you wonder how they're going to come out in the second period. Are they going to be able to say, okay, that was terrible, let's put it behind us? Well, the answer to that was no. As we discussed, the Jets, it took them until 8.5 minutes to play in the first period to generate a shot on goal. It took 9 minutes and 51 seconds of game action in the second period to generate a shot on goal. But by this point in time, they're trailing 1-0 as Frank Vetrano gets his 8th of the season, assist to Radko Gudas and Ryan Strome. It comes at the 4:45 mark. Again, it's, the Jets are struggling. I'll be perfectly simple. The Jets are struggling. Eric Comrie makes a really nice save in the sequence before this, but he loses his stick. And I thought he was maybe a little too focused on trying to retrieve his stick. And yes, the puck was loose, and maybe the Jets were going to be able to clear it out, but they weren't. And the Ducks maintained possession. And then Radko Gudas just puts a shot towards the net, and Frank Vetrano is there for the tip. And Comrie just, to me, didn't look square to this shot. And I'm not blaming Eric Comrie for this. This loss is not on Eric Comrie by any stretch of the imagination. But in this sequence, on this goal, I would have liked him to sort of be a little less concerned about the goal stick and more concerned about getting square to the shot and square to the potential tip, rather than sort of leaning forward, trying to retrieve the goal stick and block and be in position at the same time as he.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's be honest here, though. I mean, the Scheifele line, it's at the end of the shift. They're gassed. We already have talked about this, guys. It's already the second game of a back-to-back. But to me, they're just kind of slowly, if you rewatch it, like you said, Drew, Comrie makes a big save. Who did he make the first save on? Was it Jackson Lacombe who had the shot? I forget who had the original shot, but just watching the replay here. But it was just, to me, like it was just slow to react. And it's a point shot that gets tipped, but it was leading up to that point. The Ducks had all of the momentum. The Jets were playing slow. They were turning the puck over in their own zone. I thought Josh Morrissey had a fantastic game, but you saw that just going back to the first period, he coughed up the puck in the middle. I think if it was, I think it might've been, was it Robbie Fabry, guys? Maybe the chat will help me out, but that sequence in the first 10 minutes, I remember it was maybe at the 8-minute mark or something like that. Morrissey coughed up the puck. And the point I'm trying to make is, like, that was just an indication of kind of how the Jets were playing tonight. Just like not moving not moving the puck quickly out of their own zone, not a lot of sustained pressure, not a lot of shots. Obviously, we've already talked about that. 8 shots through the first couple periods. We'll probably be mentioning that again, guys, throughout the course of tonight's post-game show. But yeah, just that's what stood out to me. Yes, Comrie, obviously he's not set, Drew. You're absolutely right. He doesn't have a stick. And I'm not a goalie, so I'm not going to pretend like I can analyze goalies. That's why we have Kevin Woodley on the show every so often.
Marty Biron.
But like, when you don't have your stick, guys, it kind of throws everything off for a goalie, right? Mm-hmm. So again, we're not going to, give it to Comrie too much here because he was excellent in this game. But I just thought the Jets were just kind of running around on that sequence, and at that point you got that feel, like sometimes in hockey you just get the feeling a goal's about to happen, and that was exactly what happened on this play. The Ducks were just all over the Jets. They had all the pressure, and then they get rewarded.
And the only thing I would add, Drew, which Ezzy did a good job with his analysis, the only thing I would add once again, and we've noticed it too many times, front of the net. I mean, that's what we call, if we were real estate agents, Ezzy, we'd be calling that primo real estate, right? And so why is it that front of the net is vacated and allows the Ducks to basically set up shop? I mean, they were having some tea, they were having some crumpets. They could have done whatever they wanted. And that to me is a problem because it's a defensive breakdown. It's not like it was a 5-on-4, right? It's a 5-on-5, which means someone has to be there. And
tying up again, stick.
Yeah, at least someone has to be doing something. I mean, like I said, it's just unfortunate. It's a pattern we've noticed over the course of this stretch. And look, coming into today's game, they just were 5-1-1 in their last 7 games, right? We were talking about it. This is a team that's still putting up points and still winning games. But there have been breakdowns that you don't like to see. And this is another instance where repeatedly now, over the course of not one game, but a number of games, we've seen the Jets vacate the front of the net. And maybe that's part of their defensive structure because they're trying to stay with their man. But I don't like it because, like I said, in this instance, there's nobody to hold the stick. Now, I will be clear because we're going to get into it a little bit later with even when there's guys in front of the net as they're not necessarily tying guys up and sufficiently to prevent that anyways, but at least be there and try and do something.
Can we also agree that it's great that Radko Gudas is the captain of this team? And what I mean by that is that, he's like a number 4, number 5 defenseman, like veteran defenseman, surrounded by young players. Like that was mentioned many times on the broadcast, right? Like the amount of players that are 21 or younger, like Leo Carlson, Cutter Gauthier, who else? Who am I missing here? Mintyukov, Zellweger. Like the Ducks are a young team. I just love the fact that it's just like most captains are, star players. I like the fact that Gudas is the captain of this team. It's just,
well, you know what Gudas is going to give you. He's a heart and soul kind of guy. He's going to be physical. He's going to block shots. Yeah. There's no illusion that he's going to become an offensive dynamo, but he's certainly going to be. He's going to garner the respect of everybody in that dressing room for the way he goes about his business. Ironically, with the Jets, you're talking about Radko Gudas. He's the one who gets burnt on the tying goal by Gabe Vilardi. It comes on the power play. Ross Johnston is in the box for roughing. I still haven't seen what he did.
What was that?
I don't know. I saw our buddy Joe Pascucci said that he punched Nino Niederreiter. Like they got into that little bit of a scrum.
It was a bit of a punch. Yeah.
And Joe said it happens off camera, or it says that like you don't see it. Like God, and I don't blame Dan and Kevin for this, but TSN probably could have found a better replay. I would have hoped that actually shows the penalty, but they didn't. Whatever. That's that's not for me.
Well, it's like yesterday, right, Drew, when there was a review. Yeah. And we had absolutely no idea what was being reviewed.
Right. Exactly. Just, maybe give us a little bit of a hint there. But in any event, apparently, according to Joe Pascucci, Ross Johnston got Nino Niederreiter with a punch to the face that nobody saw on camera. It happened after, after they cut off the replay. Anyways, Johnston gets penalized. The Jets go to the power play. Keep in mind, I think at this point in time in the second period, they might have one shot on goal at this point.
They had one shot.
Yeah, so at this, they've got a grand total of 5 shots on goal about halfway through the game at this point. But you knew exactly what was going to happen, and it took the Jets all of 9 seconds. They win the face-off. They move the puck. It goes from Vilardi down to Morrissey to Kyle Connor. Vilardi goes and parks himself in front of the net. Connor walks the line. He finds Ehlers. Ehlers throws it towards the front of the net. Vilardi's got position on Radko Gudas, and he just bangs it past Lucas Dostal. And you could see it happening. It's just, typical for the Winnipeg Jets as of late when it comes to their power play. It executes at such a high level. And despite the fact that they've been absolute dog bloop for the first 30 minutes of this game, it's tied up at 1 goal apiece, Dave.
Yeah, and I think it was mentioned on the broadcast that, what is that, their 6th power play goal, or it was the 9th power play goal in the last 6 games. So, the power play is red hot, and, adding Nikolai Ehlers back onto it, right, boys? It's just may have taken a little bit of adjustment because Cole Perfetti and Nikolai Ehlers, obviously, Captain Obvious here, vastly different players, but the movement looked good again. And that's one of the things you expect because, hey, look, we know the Jets were fresh. They weren't particularly working very hard for the first 30 minutes of this hockey game. And Nikolai Ehlers, Gabe Vilardi goes right to the front of the net. Nikolai Ehlers puts it over to him quick. Yep. And they're lucky that, it hits him in the leg. He knocks it down and he puts it in. And Gabe Vilardi, that gives him 11 points in his last, I want to say 8 or 9 games. So he's, been on fire. I think that was 14 goals, 14 assists for him this season. So
Back up the Brinks truck, Dave.
Well, he's producing, but like I said, I like the fact that Nikolai Ehlers, what does he do right away? Quick.
Yeah,
there's no hesitation. Didn't hold on to the puck too quickly to try and draw guys in. He just fires it over quick, gets it over to Velarde. No fuss, no muss in the back of the net, and it's a 1-1 game.
Okay, Dave, we need to talk a little bit more about that though, because you mentioned Ehlers fires it like that. I don't know if you guys thought this when at first I thought he kind of fanned on a shot. Maybe it was just me, but it's like a very subtle. It's almost like a little chip shot in golf, right? Like it's like when you're like just a little bit off the green. Like
I've seen your chip shots in golf. They don't have that kind of touch on them.
Yeah, they go 200 feet, not.
No, I'm not a good golfer. Just like I'm not a very good athlete in general, but I'm a good drinker though.
Yeah, that's true. You are good. You're a good drinker on the golf course.
I'm a very good drinker on the course. Yeah. But I just thought the hands there, and that's what I think, guys. And I think Jacob Stoller, Connor Harabchuk, and Liz Hood did a great job when they broke down the Jets' power play. Like the Jets have the skilled players, and Velarde's the guy like that you get the puck to, right? Like he can be beside the net. He obviously has an amazing shot. I just thought it was such a sneaky good pass by Ehlers. That's all I wanted to say. It was like just a nice little chip.
Well, to your point, I think that Ehlers sees that Velarde is got good body position on Radko Gudas in this instance. So, I mean, he knows that if you look up and you see that your teammate is in a good position when it comes to battling for a rebound, you don't have to overthink it. Just throw it on net. If the goalie isn't able to make a clean save with no rebound, you have your forward in a good position, to be able to win a battle and deposit the puck, which is exactly what happened. I mean, these guys know when their teammates are in prime scoring position, and Velarde certainly was in one at this point. So 1-1 halfway through the second period. The Jets then take two penalties in the second period. Rasmus Kupari gets a little too cute, overhandles the puck, was in a good shooting position in the Duck zone, doesn't. Long story short, he ends up taking a penalty in the neutral zone. The Jets successfully kill that one off. Then Logan Stanley takes a penalty at the 17:30 mark of the second period. It was a really nice tackle on, I believe, Mason McTavish. The problem is that in hockey, you're not allowed to tackle, and two, you're not allowed to tackle when the guy especially doesn't have the puck. But aside from that, in terms of form tackles, it was a real nice form tackle by Logan Stanley here. He didn't like the call, but it was a pretty obvious call. But
by the way, Drew, not as good as Adam Lowry's bowling ball tackle about a period later. But anyway,
that was a little scary when he goes up in the air and his blade is flying through the air. I was, it's a little bit scary. Ever since we know what happened last year in over in England, things like that, frightened me a little bit. But the Jets kill off the penalties. So after 40 minutes. Despite only having 8 shots through the first 2 periods of the game, being badly outshot, badly outplayed, the Jets and the Ducks are tied up at a goal apiece. Pretty good, all things considered. And then, of course, the Jets take the lead. Mark Scheifele, his 18th of the year, assist to Kyle Connor. And this, my friends, is our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Jets fans everywhere are going to be hitting the bottle responsibly after tonight's contest. Hopefully they're drinking Seagram's VO, masterfully blended, distinctly Canadian. And this was a no doubt about it when it came to the Seagram shot of the game for this one. It's all Kyle Connor. I mean, and it's it really where it starts that is so impressive to me. And it's not the first time we've said this year. It starts with him making a defensive play behind his own net. So it starts 200 feet from the Ducks' net. Connor picks up the puck with speed, comes around the back of the Jets' net, past Eric Comrie, and he's just a lightning bolt going up the ice.
Drew, he literally breaks Troy Terry's ankles.
Yeah.
On this play, it was like the old, how's it going? Like to his fellow countrymen and the Ducks' best player, right? Like you're 100% right. Continue on. I mean, this was just Kyle Connor's speed taking over, and then obviously Mark Scheifele finishing it off.
Yeah, exactly right. He just blows past absolutely everyone, including Troy Terry in the neutral zone. So it's a clean zone exit. It's a clean zone entry into the Duck zone. And then he just jams on the brakes. As Dave, great reference to Frank Costanza. Kyle Connor stops short in the Duck zone, cuts over into the middle a little bit, finds Mark Scheifele wide open. It's a perfect pass onto Scheifele's stick, and Scheifele makes no mistake with the absolute bullet of a one-timer, beating Dostal and giving the Jets the 2-1 lead. This coming at the 4:13 mark of the third period, Ezzy.
Yeah, well, Dave M should be talking about Kyle Connor because he's been on this train forever. Kyle Connor's playing the best hockey of his career right now. Let's be honest here. Like, he is.
All around, absolutely.
He's playing the best hockey of his career right now. And this was a game, the shots were 24-10 at this point in the third period, right? Just based on the shots alone. I don't care if you subscribe to analytics. We're not going to get into that whole thing. The Jets were being outplayed. That's the point here. And Kyle Connor decides, I'm going to go and do some crazy Kyle Connor stuff and take the puck from my own zone and then go past Troy Terry and then stop up and then put the puck right on Scheifele's stick.
Yeah.
And then Scheifele rips it home with a beautiful shot, right, Dave? Like, it's just like you see this on a game in, game out basis, but it bears repeating or it bears us, continuing to be amazed by how well Connor is playing, because he's obviously been criticized. We've criticized him. He's been criticized by fans and the media alike for some, more so the defensive side of the puck, right, Dave?
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just vintage Kyle Connor. I don't know really what else to say about it.
No, I mean, I think that the only thing I would add, there's nothing really to add on the play, because you're right, Ezzy. He is just a phenomenal passer. I mean, there's a reason why he is even Steven, 265 assists and 263 goals or something like that. Like, it's just amazing how consistent he is year in, year out. Although it's interesting because I was looking, he only had, I think he's up to 23 assists now on the season. And interestingly, he only had 27 last year, which was low for him. He's usually a little bit higher. But he was busy scoring.
And he missed 20 games too.
No,
right?
no, I know, but I'm saying, but he usually scores, he usually is consistent in terms of goals and assists.
Yeah.
And even Mark Scheifele, he's up to 18 goals this season, and he had 25 last year. So more production, not a surprise. They showed that graphic that the Jets top line is amongst the top of the NHL in terms of production.
Just behind the Lightning. That was on the power play, though, I thought, in terms of the points that they were talking about.
Was it, though? I see. I wasn't sure if it was power play.
I think it was just power play, because it was only something. It only totaled up to like 50 points, I thought.
Oh, then maybe
it had to be power play.
Maybe it was power play then.
Yeah.
But anyways, the point is that they're producing as a trio. I mean, that there's no doubt about that. But well, it'd be interesting that it would list them as a trio then, Drew, because you'd think if it was a power play, then they'd have Ehlers on there as well. But
regardless, as a trio, their goal totals are among the tops in the league.
Yeah, they're right up there. And so, like I said, they're just it goes to show you that chemistry that works so well. And like I said, one of the things that we know that they have to work on is defensive acumen. But it is better this year than it has been in the past. There's no question about that either.
So Jets, all of a sudden, they've pulled the rabbit out of the hat, the duck out of the hat, I suppose, if you want. It's 2-1 at the 4:13.
Leslie's saying, by the way, Leslie's saying it was line goal totals. Just
there you go. Okay, I thought it was power play. It doesn't. Maybe goal.
No, it'd be a little bit.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't really make sense that it'd be power play alone,
right.
But that's why.
You
Thank you, Leslie, for the backup. There we go.
Leslie's a smart individual. I trust Leslie. So it's 2-1 for the Jets at this point. They get a power play again moments later, 40 seconds later after the Jets take the lead. Owen Zellweger high sticks Nikolai Ehlers after the Jets come back with a great, shift right after the goal. So they're really starting to pour it on the Ducks, and they get a power play opportunity.
That was the one you're talking about, Drew, was that the Nino Niederreiter chances, I believe, right?
In tight.
Remember, Niederreiter had a couple chances. The third line had a good shift.
Yeah,
I think it was before
exactly.
that. Yeah.
That's what it was. I think it was right after that. It was when Niederreiter was in tight and they were pounding away, and Perfetti was trying to also jam it in. But they weren't able to do that. But they get a power play, and you wonder, okay, can they get another power play goal, really secure this victory at that point in time? And they cannot. So the power play, I don't want to say it lets them down because it's been so great, and you're not going to score at 100% of your opportunities. But in this instance, when they absolutely could have used another power play goal, they weren't able to get it. Instead, the Anaheim Ducks come back down the end of the ice at the 15-14 mark. So with about 5 minutes or so to go in the game after the Jets have been playing their best hockey, it goes to show you how stupid of a game this is sometimes. The fact that the Jets were in the lead, having played poorly for the majority of the game, all of a sudden they start playing their best hockey of the game, and Anaheim instead scores a goal to tie it up when they've been on their heels. It's Frank Vetrano, assist to Lacombe and Radko Gudas, and again, it's a tip. Which is what we talked about. It's a nice tip by Frank Vetrano that he's very adept at these kind of plays. He's not flashy. His goals aren't generally going to be quite flashy, but it's a clean face-off win by the Ducks. Something where they actually outperformed the Jets in tonight's game, and they really shouldn't be doing that. Anaheim should not be beating the Winnipeg Jets in the face-off circle as readily as they were, but it's a point shot, and Vetrano gets his stick on it, and it beats Eric Comrie, and it ties the game up at 2, Ezzy.
Yeah, there's not much to break down here, Drew. I think, I mean, you did a good job of breaking it down, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a clean win. Ducks get possession.
I guess it comes after an icing, is what I also pointed out. So the Jets had iced the puck, which led to the face-off to the left of Eric Comrie here.
Right, and Jackson Lacombe, that's a good player right there, from Eden Prairie, Minnesota, from University of Minnesota, right, Dave? So I mean, yeah, that's just, it's a good tip by Vetrano. Not much of a chance for Comrie. We've kind of already gone over that, right? Like, Comrie deserved better in this game, I thought. And these are not pretty goals, and obviously we'll get into the third goal, which was as ugly of a goal as ugly of a late game winning goal as you're going to see. But yeah, I mean, structurally, guys, I don't think that there's much here that, like, this is the type of sequence that happens a bunch of times in games, and sometimes those shots go wide, sometimes that's an easy save for a goalie. Like, it's just a skilled tip by Vetrano there. That's kind of my takeaway from that goal.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. But again, the Jets then have another power play opportunity in this game, Dave, late in the third period, after just a tremendous shift by the Ehlers.
Drew, I'm pretty sure, didn't Nemesnikov actually put that one in past Comrie? I'm pretty sure it hit Nemesnikov's skate on that one.
Are you talking about the Vetrano goal?
Oh yeah, I think on the Vetrano goal, I'm pretty sure that Nemesnikov's skate actually got the puck there. I'm pretty sure if you watch the replay, I actually thought that Nemesnikov kicked it in.
Oh, you're saying it goes in off of Nemesnikov,
like it hits Vetrano and then Nemesnikov, right, and goes in.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that either, so I'd have to look back.
Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm watching. I'm not watching You're talking about the Vetrano goal, right? That's what we're.
Yeah, I'm talking about the tying goal.
I'm watching I watched the replay, and if you watch the third replay, watch the third replay right there. Nemesnikov kicks it in off. It goes in off.
Well, if that's the case, they should be. The goal should be Jackson Lacombe's, and should be.
Yeah, it's actually. I'm pretty sure. Watch the replay. I watched it while you guys were talking again because I wasn't certain, but to me, to be honest with you, I was more focused on Hayden Fleury's, I thought, poor defensive positioning there to not tie up Terry.
Yeah, but Troy Terry's there too, Dave. You're right.
No, but I'm pretty sure. Look, well, I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I've watched the replay.
Maybe I'm just not seeing what you're seeing, Dave.
I watched the last second of the replay with 39 seconds.
A commercial for eggs right now. I'm
just telling you, it either hits Nemesnikov's skate or his stick, and then he basically puts it past Comrie. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing. If it did, but again, like I said, my bigger fixation on this.
Oh, I see. Now I see it. Vetrano right. Tips it, and then it's kind of fluttering, and then it does go. I don't know how much it changed direction, Dave, but it does look like it could have gone off of Nemesnikov.
But my greater point was that I don't like the lack of a box out by Hayden Fleury in front of the net, and that we're seeing that consistently, which, like I said, I think Hayden Fleury is being asked to do too much. I think Hayden Fleury needs to, again, nothing you can do because Dylan Sandberg is not coming back until,
early
new year, as Scott O'Neill told us last week or a few days ago, whatever it was, time's all running into each other. But ultimately, again, like I think Hayden Fleury is being asked to do more than he's capable of doing. And like I said, I just don't like the lack of a box out, because if he gets Terry there, then maybe there's a little less happening in front of Eric Comrie, and he can react a little bit quicker.
Well, and that's again, Dave. That's why that it's pretty hard for Comrie, especially if it does change a little bit of direction off of Nemesnikov as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can see it does hit Nemesnikov, and then it bounces off the ice a bit, and that's why it goes up in the air over Comrie's.
It's a bit of an ugly goal, to be honest with you.
But it's what the Ducks do. The Ducks, they talked about it on the broadcast, is that they're very good at tipping pucks, and they like to just shoot from the point and get pucks through to let their their wingers and their forwards try and get a stick on it. In this case, it was Nemesnikov who got a skate on it rather than anybody on the Ducks. But that's kudos to them for getting the shot through and getting it succeeding however they have to succeed. It would be how I describe it.
And look, both these comments are right. As I've been saying, that Fleury's exposed on the second pair, especially with Pionk struggling so badly. And Doug says, in no way was any of that Fleury's responsibility. That's all on Pionk for coughing up the puck. And like I said, I don't disagree that Pionk coughed up the puck, but you still need to, I would imagine, box out in front of your net. But ultimately,
Pionk,
like I said,
Pionk coughed up the puck on the third goal.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
This was a clean face-off win.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I think they're talking about two different things, but ultimately, again, I think we've talked about it in the last show, right? As
Dave, this kind of reminds me of the one time I came over to your house and I was watching the wrong Jets game. Do you remember that?
I believe that happened on more than
one occasion. Did that happen like today?
No, that happened years ago. I'm over at Dave's house and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, this is odd that the Jets are down like 3 goals and we somehow were watching a game from like 3 months earlier. I feel like on that goal breakdown, that's exactly what just happened. Dave's saying,
the saddest part about that is that neither of you guys were the least bit intoxicated or under the influence of anything. Nope. You both were just watching a game from 3 months ago.
Sober as a squirrel.
Yeah, that's the real concerning part. I got to be perfectly honest. The Jets have an opportunity to.
By the way, hold on. Doug's saying now we're flip-flopping. We weren't flip-flopping on anything. We were talking about the second goal. Doug, it was your fault. You were talking about the third goal.
Don't worry, Doug. We're going to get to the third goal, unfortunately.
And don't worry. And there's no question about that. The third goal is Pionk's fault. The Jets have an opportunity on a power play. They get another late power play after they got great shift by Josh Morrissey. He's all over the place. And Ehlers, and and they're just cycling like you're used to seeing the Jets cycle when they're playing at their best. It forces Leo Carlsson to take a holding penalty on Josh Morrissey. This is with 3 minutes and 9 seconds to go. And the power play just wasn't what I would describe as executing very well. It had trouble gaining the zone. The Ducks did a very nice job clearing the puck. I think it's about at this point in time that TSN loses the feed, and now we're watching the Anaheim Ducks feed with former Jets 1.0 goaltender Brian Hayward doing color analysis on this one. So all of a sudden, it's no longer Dan and Kevin. They're in trouble for all the Italian jokes. Instead, it's now it's the Ducks guys who are doing the broadcast.
And Drew, that's like the 4th or 5th time that's happened this year.
Yeah, it happens.
Like I don't want to pick on TSN, obviously, but I mean, it's not the first time that's happened.
I mean, I love Dan and Kevin, but you can pick on TSN.
In any event, it happens, and they've pivoted quickly enough to the Ducks broadcast, so that was good of them. The Jets are unable to do anything of any significance on the power play. The Ducks clear it. Most everybody figures this game's going to go into overtime because the Jets actually had the puck in the Anaheim zone. And then,
well, and Andrew, this game, if any game deserved overtime, it was this game.
Oh yeah, because everybody was demanding more of this game. That's what people were demanding, is that they want to see
more. All the fans in Anaheim that were watching this game.
Yeah, exactly.
All 700 of them.
And then just disaster strikes for the Winnipeg Jets, and I mean, it's just. Awareness needs to be better here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just awareness. This is not a dangerous play at first. It's Hayden Fleury goes back to Neil Pionk, and Pionk is trying to feed it out to Vlad Nemesnikov. I understand what he's trying to do, but you just have to be. You can't put yourself in a position where even if Vetrano makes a great play, which he did. Pionk can't let Vetrano have that opportunity to make that play. You have to be harder on the puck. You have to be more intentional with what you're trying to do in this instance. He's trying to get it up to Nemesnikov, and I know they're trying to clear the zone for maybe one final rush to see about getting a goal in regulation. Instead, Vetrano tips away Pionk's attempted pass. It goes on to the stick of Troy Terry. He maneuvers past Eric Comrie. He outweights him and tucks it in, and all of a sudden, just absolute disaster for the Winnipeg Jets. And it's now a 3-2 Ducks victory. Brian Hayward almost gave them the victory too soon on the broadcast, as Gabe Velarde had that great opportunity with seconds to go. But Lucas Dostal with a great poke check, and the Jets somehow managed, they snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory and lose 3-2 to the Anaheim Ducks in regulation, Dave.
Well, you're right, Drew. And Doug, we'll go back to Doug's earlier point. I mean, Pionk has to eat that. There's zero value. I actually felt like for the last few minutes, even with the power play, that both teams kind of felt like it was trying to get to overtime. I didn't think either team was really pushing or pressing too significantly. But like the Jets, there was more time. That's the thing I don't really understand. Pionk didn't. I'm not saying he had a ton of time, but there was a little bit of resistance at the wall that would have allowed him to. And that's where you have to have conversation. If Hayden Fleury sees that there's pressure, he can call for it. I mean, even though Terry was there, but at least then they can try and reverse things the way they're going. But the way they did it, and to put it, it's kind of, it seemed, and I don't know about you guys, it felt reminiscent of the way Morgan Barron made that mistake where he put the puck into no man's land. And one of the comments I saw in the chat, and it's worth mentioning, because there were a lot of blind no looks, like the Mason Appleton one that didn't result in a goal against. I don't remember how much time.
I think that was Zellweger got a good opportunity off of that turnover.
Right, but it was just you're in front of your net and you don't look and you do a blind no look pass in front, and then Eric Comrie is forced to make a good save. So it's just an again. I thought it was deserved. Like I wrote on our Twitter account, I said deservedly so. No points for the Jets, but ultimately, it's sloppy. It's just a sloppy way of playing hockey, and as much as you don't deserve points, I mean, you still could have extracted a point or maybe two, Ezzy, from this game if you're just smarter. And there's just, Neil Pionk, this was his 400th game in a Jets jersey, right? It's his 501st game in the NHL. He's smarter than that. Yeah. I mean, I know he's chaotic and I understand. And without Dylan Sandberg, and we've talked about it ad nauseum about, the deficiencies in his game and the chaos of his game. But, like I said, he still gets a lot of responsibility on this Jets team. And for better or worse, Dylan Sandberg, as we talked about when Scott O'Neill said he's going to be a while out, as he still, 6 to 9 games without him, if not more. So, Neil Pionk needs to be better on that play because it's the end of the game and you didn't deserve any points, but you were 25 seconds away from getting some.
Well, it's now the 4th game of the year where really they should have earned at least a point taking it to overtime, and instead they lose it in regulation. And I mean, they're not going to catch up and be, it's not like it's going to be the difference between a playoff team and a non-playoff team. No, but at some point in time, you still the late game situations, and you're playing the final few minutes of tight games eventually will be a factor probably come April more than come December. But it's something that the Jets need to fine tune about, as a.
Yeah, and Professor Haleko we have the comment there, and he's absolutely right. When you're up 2-1 in the third period, for those listening on the podcast, Andrew Haleko says, had to get at least a point up 2-1 in the third period on the road, second game of a back-to-back. Dave's absolutely right. I'll say one thing, just watching the replay again, it is like Fleury has it on his backhand, and then Pionk's got his it's a backhand to backhand. So Pionk's kind of in an awkward position. Vetrano, and give Vetrano credit, right? Like he pokes the puck. But again, it's the fact that needs to be quick, right, Dave? Like those at that point get the puck out. I think it's Perfetti who's on the boards, right? Like if anything, just try to get the puck up, go along the boards, eat it there,
or use the glass. I mean,
or use the glass. But
if you chip it out, nothing bad is going to happen.
Yeah, and it was just slow. That summed up the entire game for the Jets, and that's why they deserve to lose. And that's the thing, guys.
Sloppy and careless.
I would say we're half glass full. Well, maybe not Drew, but Dave and I are half glass full type of guys. I'm kidding, Drew. But I mean, sometimes you just have to say, even though the Jets are the first place team in the NHL, they stunk tonight. Yeah, they did. Sometimes you have to just say it.
I'd say they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever did suck.
You love that quote from The Simpsons, Dave. And now the Jets are 14.
By the way, if you want to feel old, Yesterday was the 35th anniversary, or the day before, the 35th anniversary of The Simpsons debut. I was like, oh my God, that's actually crazy.
I remember exactly when The Simpsons started because I got a Bart Simpson poster. It was 1980, 89 or 90. I think I got a poster in 1990.
35 years.
Was it the Eat My Shorts poster?
No, Cowabunga Dude.
Don't have a cowman?
Yeah. Or Don't Have a Cowman. Yeah, I remember that year for my 10th because I would have been 8. When was I born?
Cowabunga Dude, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes, that was right. Sorry, Drew. No, he said "I caramba." Isn't that what Bart?
No, Homer said "I caramba."
Oh,
no.
Okay. That was Bart.
No, Bart. I'm pretty sure
it was Bart. It was Eat My Shorts, I caramba. Anyways, guys, yes, we're very old.
But at least from the Jets' perspective, if you look at the out-of-town scoreboard, like we said,
I prefer the scoreboard.
Yeah, the scoreboard is good too.
Like the score burn, like Chris Thorburn.
Yeah, that's right. The Dallas Stars lose to the Maple Leafs and the Panthers beat the Wild, so it doesn't really hurt them that much on the out-of-town scoreboard, but emotionally, that's where the damage is really done. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, some interesting post-game quotes from a surly bunch of Winnipeg Jets players and a head coach who's none too happy as well. We'll bring those to you up next. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg. It's now, Thursday morning? I'm very confused as to the date and the time, but smash the like button. That much I know you can do.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal. Starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you on this Thursday morning. About 24 hours ago is when we did the last post-game show. So things are beginning to blend together a little bit. But tired. I know that we'll be back Saturday morning for the Illegal Curve hockey show. At least two of the three of us will be back Saturday morning for the Illegal Curve hockey show. I don't want to say where the other person's going to be, but maybe the PJ is going to be in action flying over the Pacific. But time will tell on that front.
Well, you're going to be in the Commonwealth as well, Drew.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not taking a private jet there. I have to take the milk run to get there. There's a big difference between Minuk money and Mindell money, as we've talked about before on the show.
And there's an even bigger difference between Minuk money, Mindell money, and Ginsburg money, which is non-existent.
Separate issues entirely. But the important part is we'll be here Saturday morning in our various locales for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll get you set for what ought to be a epic battle between the Jets and the Minnesota Wild. Those two teams have no love lost. Brock Faber left the game for the Minnesota Wild. They're all-world young star. He left the game, and his status is in doubt. We say it's questionable for Saturday. So, of course, that'll be a storyline to keep an eye on, because if the Wild are without Brock Faber, well, that's a big piece missing from their lineup as they do battle with the Winnipeg Jets in what very well will be a game of, I think, the top two teams in the league. I guess the Devils and the Caps are now the
two best teams in the West, though.
Best teams in the West, the two best teams in the Central Division, at least as of right now. Well, Vegas is right behind the Wild as well. In any event, it ought to be a great game. It'll be a great show Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show coming your way here on our YouTube channel. Jets head coach Scott Arniel, not happy when he was asked what he saw in the late game dagger by the Ducks, the late game goal. Quote, "Come on, everyone saw what happened." So the Jets head coach displeased. Nikolai Ehlers was asked to assess his own performance from in tonight's game. Ehlers said, quote, "My game wasn't very good. I had some good shifts, but I also had some real bad stuff." Jets head coach more blunt. Quote, "I saw a player who was rusty," said Scott Arniel. Ehlers got some more quotes. I think those are the ones you mentioned earlier, so I don't need to repeat those ones, Dave. Gabe Villard, quote, "We didn't do anything in the first period. It was just Eric. He was the only one playing in the first period." So the Jets, not pleased with their performance, nor should they be, given what was a very disappointing night for the hometown team playing on the road in Anaheim, California.
Drew, was the quote, sorry, going back to what Arniel said, was he saying Ehlers looked rusty or the team looked rusty?
No, he said Ehlers looked rusty.
Yeah. That's kind of surprising that he'd say that. I actually thought Ehlers was pretty good for a guy who hadn't played in a month.
Yeah, or nine games. I found that to be,
he picks up an assist. He had some other good rushes,
there were a lot of other passengers that were completely. Well, yeah, I mean, at least Ehlers.
Why it's a little bit surprising that he would call Ehlers rusty when the rest of the team was
asked. I mean, he was specifically asked about Ehlers' performance. Yeah. But you're right. I just assumed.
I mean, what did Cole Perfetti do in this game? What did Vlad Namestnikov do in this game? What did Mason Appleton do in this game?
And maybe I'm taking that. Maybe his tone. Maybe he was just saying.
I think he was probably
looked a little rusty. I don't know. Maybe I'm overlooking that, or maybe I'm overreacting.
I think
he
was just pissed off. I think he probably got away from him a little bit in his response. Normally, he's got he gets an opportunity to cool down, maybe take a deep breath, measure his words a little bit better. Maybe he was unable to do that in this instance. And as a result, we now have that quote that we can talk about. But whatever it was, the Jets were not very good.
Regardless, Drew, hopefully we never talk about this game ever again.
That would be okay for my books. Dave, last word to you tonight.
Well, I was going to say that we won't be talking about this game, but tomorrow on illegalcurve.com, we'll keep you up to date if Dylan Coughlin is a member of the Manitoba Moose or if he gets claimed off waivers. That's around 1 o'clock. What's that?
Predictions?
I could see him being claimed, Dave.
I don't think he gets claimed.
I think it's kind of. I think we were talking about this yesterday, Dave, during the post game show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it, or no, that didn't happen. That was something else. Never mind. I would say it's kind of like 50-50, but he is a right shot, which those are coveted.
I demand.
And Coughlin's a guy that's got I'm not saying, Dave, obviously, I mean, flip a coin, right?
For sure.
You're probably going to be right. I'm just saying, I hope that he doesn't get claimed. Let's put it that way, because the Moose could really use him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The Moose would benefit significantly from his experience in pro, as a pro, and to stabilize them, especially with the fact that they're going to get Elias Salamonson back after the Christmas break. So the right side immediately gets strengthened if he, of course, gets through. But it's just, like I said, it's an interesting, we don't know what's happening. Chibrikov is on the ice, so he's obviously okay. So it's interesting that the team, knowing that they put Gustafsson on IR, chose to do this in this way. So
it's a good sign for Chibrikov staying up, right, Dave?
Yeah, for now. But I mean, again, if Gustafsson is ready to go, you have to make another move because you have to get.
Is that not an option to put Gustafsson on waivers? That's who we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
Right, Dave? We were talking about the chances of if the Jets put Gustafsson on waivers, does he get claimed?
Right. So I don't know.
And I was saying yes, Dave said no, but I mean, again, it's Gustafsson hasn't played a lot this year, so that obviously doesn't have the stock.
There's a lot of bad teams in this league that are just looking to throw darts at young players,
sure,
to see if they have any untapped potential.
That's what happened with Jansen Harkins, right? You remember that guy's like, I think he was claimed twice, if I'm not mistaken, on waivers, wasn't he?
Well, he's been claimed by Pittsburgh, and then
I
think he signed all these bad teams need bottom of the roster players, so they oftentimes might not get through waivers. You know, you saw what Capo Caco got traded for today. I mean, guys are always, teams are always willing to take a flyer on a young player, thinking they're going to be the ones who can unlock their potential.
Like Logan Stanley after 8 years.
Well, Dave, the other thing is too, we're not flies on the wall. I mean, Dave obviously is really close to the Moose organization, but you wonder if they're going to factor that in, like that they need Chibrikov, like literally need him and his production at the AHL level. So you wonder if that factors in at all.
The Jets don't care about the Moose well-being, when it comes to at the expense.
I'm just saying there's other factors, right? Because Chibrikov is one of the best Moose players. So you wonder if they decide they say like Chibrikov's played well, right, Dave? He deserves to be up. I think we all agree with that. But maybe the Jets/Moose organization says, well, Ehlers is back. Gustafsson's going to come off IR. We'll send Chibrikov back down, and then in the event of an injury, we'll call him back up. Or obviously, Brad Lambert's an option too.
Yeah, the only thing I think the important focus is that you can say Ehlers was rusty, and I've got no problem with that. I thought he had flashes for sure, as he said in his post-game comments. Too many passengers. I mean, Morgan Barron, we were talking about him last game. I mean, Morgan Barron you need more. I'm sorry, Alex Iafallo, you need more. Rasmus Kupari, I'm not saying that they were bad, but you need more from these guys. It can't just be the Scheifele line that is producing.
Well, and sorry, Dave, I was going to say, I know we got to wrap it up here. It's 1 a.m, but
save it for Saturday.
Isn't that even more reason to keep Chibrikov up and have him on the fourth line?
Again, but the problem is, as we know, as he just disappeared.
He just might drop an out for Ginsburg. I don't blame him for that. On that note, we'll save it for Saturday morning. I'm not sure what happened to Ginsburg, but that's okay. Thanks to all of you for joining us last night
and he's back.
And again tonight.
That was my sausage fingers, Drew, hitting some buttons.
Those fingers got into some trouble there. I was saying to everyone, thanks for joining us. It's been great. It's been late nights for the last 2 nights. We do appreciate your support, and we appreciate you hanging around with us until the wee hours of the morning. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends, tell your family. The best place to be is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. We're next in action Saturday morning with the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Saturday night, the Illegal Curve post-game show, but illegalcurve.com is in action 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days per year.
Not 365. I say 360.
Okay, Brian, Dave takes 5 days off, slacker. Big thanks to our sponsors, our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Play Now, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza. A lot of Boston Pizza shows coming up in the new year. We'll get you updated on those coming up on Saturday morning. And, of course, City Place and Seagram's. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support.
And can I also throw out another business to support? Home Run Sports.
Yeah.
Picked up the new Illegal Curve merchandise. I'm rocking the new toque. Obviously picked up a hoodie as well. I know a lot of people, our friend Sean Jacob in the Interlake.
I think Andrew Professor Haleko.
Did he do the unboxing? I didn't see anything.
I don't know if he's unboxed it yet, but I think he picked up his gear as well, or maybe it's on its way. But the point is, if you ordered Illegal Curve merchandise, it's either on its way to you if you elected to have it sent to your house, or you can go pick it up. You should have received an email to that effect. So great new Illegal Curve gear. If you missed out on your opportunity to do so, we're going to reopen the store coming up again in a couple of months. So stay tuned for that. Andrew's saying he's going to pick it up tomorrow. So we can look forward to that new gear being worn all around the city. And for anybody who missed out, like I said, another opportunity will come up in the next few weeks or next few months. We'll get you outfitted so you can look as cool as Dave, Ezzy, and myself in their Illegal Curve gear. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you Saturday morning at 9 a.m. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until then, we wish you good morning and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow @Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.